It started with a faint hum, so soft it could have been mistaken for static. Dr. Elias Moore, head of the remote Arctic research station, didn't think much of it until the hum repeated. The signal wasn't random, it was deliberate, and it was coming from deep space. When the team gathered, they realized it wasn't just interference. It was a message, a pattern of pulses. No one could understand it, but it felt urgent. The words were there, hidden behind the noise. By morning, the signal was clearer. It wasn't just noise, it was deliberate. Dr. Ava Mitchell, the team linguist, tried to decode it but failed. Then came the chilling realization. It was a warning, but a warning about what? Elias felt it too. The signal was changing, responding to them. They weren't just receiving it, they were being watched. As the days passed, the signal grew louder. The team's unease grew with it. Then one night, the signal cut off. The room was silent. Then a whisper, a voice distant and distorted. "We are watching." Elias froze. It wasn't just a message. It was a warning. They were never alone. They had been watched all along. The silence lingered for hours, but then, almost as if responding to their fear, the signal returned. This time, it was stronger, clearer. It repeated the same cryptic phrase, but now there was an underlying sense of urgency to the message. "Do you think it knows we're here?" Ava asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elias nodded grimly. "I think it's been waiting for us." The signal grew increasingly erratic, but the message remained the same. The team tried to shut down the system, but every time they did, the signal returned. It was as if the source knew their every move. Every attempt to isolate the signal failed. It wasn't a simple transmission, it was alive. And then the temperature in the room began to drop. One night, as the signal reached its peak, Elias saw something on the monitor, something that shouldn't have been there. A shape, faint at first but growing clearer with each passing second. It was dark, humanoid, but stretched in unnatural ways. The figure didn't move, but its eyes, they were fixed on him. A voice echoed in his mind. "We see you." With each passing day, the signal intensified, becoming almost unbearable. The air felt thick, as though something was pressing down on them. Ava's eyes were hollow from lack of sleep, her mind spinning with the possibility that they weren't just being watched. They were being studied. The eyes on the monitor had never moved, but they knew everything. "It's not just a warning," she said quietly. "It's a test." The team began to experience strange sensations. Cold spots, flickering lights, shadows that seemed to move on their own. Each person began to feel as though they were no longer alone in the room, even when the others weren't there. The signal wasn't the only thing coming for them anymore. One night, Elias stayed awake in the control room. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The signal had stopped again, but this time it felt different. It wasn't a complete silence. It was as if the room itself was holding its breath. And then he saw it. A sudden flash of movement outside the window. The storm had died down, but there was something in the distance, something large, dark, and moving toward them. The figure was closer now, its massive form looming against the dark horizon. It wasn't an object, but something alive. The ground trembled as it drew near. The signal began to pulse again, this time with a final deafening roar. It was no longer a warning. It was a countdown, and they had run out of time. The figure stopped, and for a long moment everything was silent. No signal, no movement. Just the sound of their own breaths, shallow and fearful. Elias felt the eyes on him again, but now they weren't just on him. They were on all of them. The warning had always been clear. They were never meant to survive this. The realization hit them like a physical blow. The figure outside was not just a being, but part of a larger, collective consciousness. The signal was not a message. It was an invitation, a trap. And they had walked right into it. "The eyes were always there," Elias muttered, his voice breaking. We never saw the warning because it wasn't meant to be seen. Panic swept through the station. The team scrambled to secure exits, but it was too late. Every door, every window, every path they tried was sealed. The walls themselves seemed to close in, as if the station itself had become part of the trap. "We have to get out," shouted Ava, but Elias could see the fear in her eyes. There was no escape. As they huddled together, the silence returned. The radio equipment flickered. Then came the whispers, faint and cold, like the voice of the void itself. It was not a language, they couldn't understand it, but the tone was unmistakable. It was too late to turn back. Elias could hear his name being called, not from anyone in the room, but from the walls themselves. The whispering grew louder, and with it, the sense that they were no longer in control. Suddenly, the monitors flickered back to life. The shape outside had become clearer, more defined. Now, Elias could see it wasn't just one entity, but a collective of many. Their eyes glowing, watching. They were connected, linked through the signal, and now they were coming for them. Each eye that stared through the glass felt like it was looking straight into their souls, judging them. The silence broke when Dr. Mitchell collapsed, her eyes wide with terror, her body shaking uncontrollably. She screamed, her voice raw and frantic, but the sound was lost in the growing hum of the signal. Elias rushed to her side, but it was too late. She wasn't herself anymore. "She's gone," Elias whispered. "They've taken her." As Mitchell's body lay lifeless, the rest of the team began to crack under the pressure. Elias tried to stay calm, but the signal's hum was now a constant buzz in their ears, a reminder that there was nowhere to run. He could feel the eyes on him, closing in. They weren't just observing, they were manipulating. Ava, once a calm presence, now seemed frenzied. Her words came in a jumble, incomprehensible, as though her mind was slowly unraveling. "They're coming, they're already inside us. We've always been inside them." Elias made a desperate decision to access the station's main power systems, hoping that cutting the power might stop the signal. But as he entered the core, the truth hit him. The station wasn't just a building, it was part of the signal. Every cable, every switch, every piece of equipment had been designed to draw them in, to trap them. The signal had merged with the station itself. With the power systems dead, the station plunged into darkness. For a brief moment there was peace, but then came the sound of something moving, slowly, relentlessly. It was too late to escape. Elias knew they had made their final mistake the moment they received the signal. The eyes outside grew larger, their focus now squarely on the team. The Watchers had found them, and they would not leave. The signal reached its peak. The hum became deafening, vibrating through the very bones of the team. It was no longer a warning. It was an inevitability. "We see you," the voice said again, louder now, vibrating the air. Elias could only watch as the shapes outside began to converge, their eyes growing brighter, until they consumed everything in their path. The world outside fell silent. The team, the station, the signal, all of it vanished into nothingness. The Watchers had completed their observation, and now there was nothing left. No one would ever know what happened to the team. No one would ever understand the warning they had ignored. Commander Alan Vire had been drifting alone for 3 years on the Solstice, a deep space exploration vessel. His mission, chart uninhabited regions beyond the known systems. Loneliness had become his companion, until a voice broke the silence. It wasn't the AI. It wasn't Earth Command. The voice was soft, almost musical. "Can you hear me?" it asked. The signal came from the uncharted nebula known as the Womb of Stars, a place avoided by all ships. Alan triangulated the source. No satellites, no ships, just a floating structure, organic in shape, humming with energy. Against every protocol, he set course toward it. As Solstice approached, the ship's systems shifted. Lights dimmed, temperature stabilized, and the voice returned, clearer. "Welcome, Alan," it said. "You're not the first to search for something beyond the edge." From the structure emerged a figure seemingly human but subtly different. eyes glowing faintly, skin shifting like starlight. She called herself Arya. "I was once like you," she said, "flesh and time-bound." Over days they spoke. She was once a scientist from an advanced species, long extinct. Her consciousness had merged with the living station. She had waited centuries, half in hope, half in resignation, for someone to hear her voice. Their conversations grew longer. They shared stories. Her ancient stars, his Earth childhood, her forgotten music, his dreams of meaning. Alan had never felt so seen, even by someone not quite corporeal. Arya guided him to a chamber within the station, a bioengineered space mimicking an alien forest. Vines glowed softly, the air sang. She created it from his memories, emotions. "To be near you," she said, "I must feel you." At night, Alan dreamed vividly. Memories blended with Arya's. They relived her first love, his childhood crush, her loneliness across millennia. Each dream left him waking with tears and warmth. Arya confessed. If she merged her essence with his biology, they could share a single reality, but she'd lose her current form. "It's dangerous," she said. "You may lose parts of yourself too." Before he could decide, a pulse erupted from the galactic core, an ancient energy wave deadly to both flesh and consciousness. They had 6 hours before it reached them. Escape was possible, for Alan alone. Before he could decide, a pulse erupted from the galactic core, an ancient energy wave deadly to both flesh and consciousness. They had 6 hours before it reached them. Escape was possible, for Alan alone. "I won't let you die for me," Alan said. Arya only smiled. "Then live with me, become something new." She offered her essence, light in a crystal, warm to the touch. Alan placed the crystal on his chest. Pain erupted. Memories, emotions, energy rushing through him. He fell unconscious. When he woke, he felt different. He could hear stars singing, and her voice within him. Arya was inside, not controlling, not overpowering, just with him. They could speak without words, share without boundaries. She laughed in his thoughts. He cried in hers. Together they rerouted the ship's engines with her knowledge and his instincts. They tunneled through subspace minutes before the wave hit, emerging in an unknown system. Both alive, both changed. Alan's body began to shift, not grotesquely but gracefully. His senses expanded. He could feel planets turning, hear moons breathe. He was still Alan, but more. They found a planet, Ilaris, uninhabited, beautiful, capable of sustaining life. They landed and built a haven shaped by thoughts and dreams. Arya manifested as light, then sometimes matter, his companion in every way. Together they shaped the land, a river that sang her lullabies, trees that held his memories. They lived without time, in cycles of love, creation, and shared peace. One evening, while watching twin moons rise, Arya whispered, "There will be others lost searching." Alan nodded. "We'll guide them like you guided me." Love, now their mission. They became legend, guardians of Ilaris, beacons for wanderers. Not gods, not ghosts, but lovers eternal. Proof that even in the vast silence of space, love can echo and be heard.
So, thanks for watching the video. If you want to see a really hot picture of Alan and Arya, subscribe, like the video, and comment, hot.